All right, let's talk about navigating your inner world. I want to introduce you to this really powerful model for finding emotional balance that, believe it or not, merges modern psychology with some pretty timeless spiritual wisdom. And it all revolves around this idea of a river.
You know that feeling? One minute you are completely overwhelmed, just flailing, trying to keep your head above water. And the next, you're gripping the steering wheel of your life so tight your knuckles are turning white. It's this wild swing between two extremes, and man, is it exhausting.
So let's actually start by getting a handle on those two extremes. I want you to picture them as the two banks of a river, and they're the things that can keep us stuck and really just keep us from flowing forward.
Okay, so on one side of the river, you've got the bank of chaos. This is where everything feels disorganized, impulsive, anxious. It's where we go when we just kind of collapse or avoid. And then on the other side, you've got the bank of rigidity. This is all about over-control, right? Perfectionism, hypervigilance. Now, look, both of these are totally natural stress responses, but they're not where we're meant to live. To make this super concrete, think about this example of a guy named Miles. He's facing this huge, overwhelming task of studying for the LSAT. And what does he do? He just collapses into distraction. That, right there, is a perfect chaos response. You're avoiding the source of the stress by just jumping into something else entirely.
So, if we don't want to be struck on the bank of chaos or the bank of rigidity, where in the world are we supposed to be? Well, the goal is to get into the water. To get into what Dr. Daniel Siegel calls the river of integration.
And this is our destination, the river of integration. And listen, it's not about being perfectly calm and zen all the time. Not at all. It's about being in this dynamic, healthy flow where we can be flexible, where we can adapt to whatever life throws at us, and find this deep sense of coherence.
Now, here's what's so fascinating about this modern neurobiological concept. It echoes some really ancient spiritual wisdom. I mean, look at this verse from Isaiah. It talks about this perfect peace that comes from a steadfast mind and from trust. It's just a beautiful parallel to the kind of stability you find in that river of integration.
So what does this integrated state actually look like? Well, there's this brilliant framework called the FACES model that breaks it down for us. F is for flexibility, the ability to shift our responses instead of being stuck in one gear. A's is for adaptability, which is all about adjusting to changing conditions. C is for coherence, where our values and our actions actually line up. E is for energized, having that sustained vitality. And S is for stability, keeping our balance even when things get rocky. And you can see each of these has a clinical meaning, but it also has a deep spiritual one too, like responding to God's Spirit or walking in integrity.
Okay, so to stay in that river, we really need to understand why we get thrown onto the banks in the first place. And it all boils down to this crucial difference between a signal and a story.
It all kicks off with just a pure physical sensation in your body. Maybe your heart starts beating faster, or your palms get sweaty, or you get that knot in your stomach. At this point, it's just data. It's a totally neutral signal. It doesn't mean anything, not yet anyway.
And this is where the magic, or the misery, happens. Our mind, which is just this incredible meaning-making machine, immediately grabs that neutral signal and it wraps a story around it. It takes that raw physical data and decides if it means danger or opportunity, fear or excitement. I mean, this example just says it all, doesn't it? The physical signal of a racing heart is identical in both situations. But the story we tell ourselves, oh no, I'm terrified of this speech, versus, yes, I'm so excited for this ride, that story completely changes our entire emotional experience. The signal is exactly the same. The story is what makes all the difference.
Okay, so if we can choose the story, that means we have some control here. It means we can actually learn how to steer our little boat back into the middle of the river. So let's get practical and look at a few tools for how to actually do that. So here's this fantastic faith-based action plan, and it's called the pedal model. It kicks off with presence, which is just about grounding yourself in this moment, right now. Then comes engagement, actively jumping in instead of just sitting on the sidelines. Next, and this one is huge, is delegation, that crucial step of letting go of control and trusting a guide. That's followed by adaptation, facing the unknown with a sense of curiosity. And finally, love in motion, which is all about serving others, which has this incredible effect of lightening our own load.
And here's something you can literally do right now. It's a super simple breathing exercise to help you separate that signal from the story. So on the inhale, you just acknowledge the physical feeling.
As you hold your breath, you name the story that you're attaching to it. On the exhale, you consciously release that story and you invite truth in. And then, in that quiet moment after, you just listen.
You see, when we start practicing these kinds of things, we move from just understanding the concept to actually living in that state of flow. So let's wrap up by summarizing the key takeaways from this really powerful, integrated model.
So, from a purely psychological view, what are the big ideas here? First, your emotions are data. They're not directives. They're not your boss. Second, the path to healing isn't about suppressing feelings. It's about integrating them. Real resilience comes from combining that awareness of your body with the renewal of your mind. And finally, coherence, that feeling of alignment between what you believe and what you do, that is the #1 predictor of long-term well-being. And from a spiritual perspective, this model just fits so perfectly. True peace isn't about being passive. It's a dynamic, spirit-led coherence. Healing really is about redirecting our energy away from fear and back towards love. It's in those small moments of obedience when we feel uncertain that we actually transform. And maybe most importantly, surrender isn't weakness. It's the very beginning of redemption.
So, what's the final takeaway from all of this? After all the science and all the wisdom, it might just boil down to this one simple, profound invitation. When you're stuck on the banks, whether it's chaos or rigidity, when you don't know what's coming next, the whisper is always the same. Trust your guide, do your part, and just pedal.